Hello all, it's the 1st of December 2016 and it's Dan here from Essex, United Kingdom. So we've had some hard frosts here. It was down to -6, -7 the other night. Last night not so cold, but certainly cold enough for a frost, so that we have to scrape the old cars off in the morning and that sort of thing. So safe to say winter is definitely here. So what I'm doing is just sort of taking stock at the moment and thinking about what I'm going to do next year. So what I'm going to be doing after Christmas is I'm going to be involved in producing or building or creating, whatever you want to call it, a small backyard orchard. So I'm going to definitely have a couple of apple trees in there. I'm probably going to have an early, a mid-season and a late keeping apple. My long-term viewers are known of my fondness for the variety Winter King, so I'm probably going to have one of those. I might have a James Grieve, and I might have a Sunset or a Cox or something along those lines, but I'm still thinking exactly what I want to do. Now, with regards to plum trees, I'm thinking of something like the good old Victoria plum. The majority of people who are interested in fruit growing here in the UK will be well acquainted with the Victoria plum, and maybe an opal as well, because opal, similar flavour, maybe a bit sweeter than Victoria, but you tend to get it about 2 weeks earlier, so you know you can have plums for a sustained period. With regards to pears, I might have a Concord or something along those lines, or a Comis pear. So yeah, certainly got some ideas. I want to have some grapevines as well, this sort of thing, but just chewing ideas over, and I'm quite looking forward to it. But that will be a project that I intend to start after Christmas. So with regards to everything currently going on, now this is interesting. So the peach tree here, Dixie Red, done many videos on this, not going to be going into it, but what I'm going to be showing you here, look, is the rootstock is still dormant. Sorry, is not dormant. It's, you know, in healthy green growth, which is incredibly strange. But looking at this, you know, you can see this is well and truly dormant, but the rootstock isn't. But hey ho, there we go. So these are the beds that you guys saw in the video. I'm going to put some cardboard on these and some water to help break it down, and what we're going to be having is some nice nutritious no dig beds and another one here. So we're going to be probably putting the usual melons, etc., in these bays. Okay, so this is the banana tree. This is well and truly, this shoot has bought it in the frost, but that's fine. It'll regenerate next year. I know people were telling me I should take it inside and that sort of thing, and yeah, in an ideal world, you know, I could have done that, but simply, you know, didn't really have the time, to be honest, or the interest to do so. But it'll grow back next year, so I'm not in the slightest worried. This is variety Musa Basju, otherwise known as Japanese banana. I've got a video on this if you're interested. So anyway, you see leaves here. So these are all leaves from the mulberry tree. Now we'll just go up into the canopy. So yeah, you can see this is well and truly, or certainly the odd leaf look, but you know, certainly dormant. And what we've got is a bird's nest. So what you want to be doing, if you're going to be thinking about pruning a mulberry tree, you want to do it in deep dormancy. You want to do it sort of like, I would recommend January time, because the branches bleed when they're cut. So you want to be doing these in January if you're going to prune these. But these really are beautiful trees, and I mean, this tree was set, I don't know, 20 odd years ago, but they can live for hundreds of years. I did see one a few years ago in like an old garden, and it was 400 years old or something. The trunk was a lovely, beautiful, gnarled sort of branch. You know, they truly are lovely. You know, you can see the thickness of this trunk after about 20 years, and the bark is beautiful. These trees are literally disease free, so if you've got the space, because they do grow into big trees, if you've got the space, a mulberry tree is beautiful, and they produce fruit for about 6 weeks of the year, all ripening at different times when you know, when they're fruiting. So mulberry trees, beautiful. Certainly would recommend into growing one of these if you have the interest in the space. Okay, well, so hazelnuts. Hazelnuts are a great thing to grow, simply because all you need is a nut. You can just you can grow these from a nut, which you can acquire sort of for free, really. I mean, if you look around gardens where there are existing existing hazelnut trees, you can generally find one simply because squirrels bury them and then they grow. And you can just stick it in the ground somewhere where you have the space, and then you'll be getting hazelnuts. You know, not a big deal to grow. Certainly no trouble in order to, you know, keep disease away. I've had no aspects of disease with these. I don't know if anybody out there has got a bit more knowledge on that subject than myself. You have to keep them pruned, but hazelnuts, certainly if you want to start producing your own nuts and you have the space, hazelnuts can be a very cheap way of doing it. I'm sure if you know someone who's got a hazelnut bush or tree, whatever you want to call it, and they've got them shooting up in the garden from ones dropped by squirrels, buried by squirrels, they'll be more than happy to let you go around and dig one up. So look into hazelnuts if you want to grow your own nuts. Okay, so here we have the dormant winter king. Grew this, I grafted this myself a few years ago. It was one of the first videos I uploaded where I showcased this, but this is an older variety of apple, variety from here in the UK. I forget the exact parentage now, but you can check that one out. So Winter King, otherwise known as Winston, after Winston Churchill, the World War II Prime Minister here in the UK. And these are very long keeping apples, so you can, you know, if you store them correctly, you can be eating these well into March, April the following year. These were particularly important during the times when we didn't have mass sort of bringing of apples into the country and mass refrigeration of apples, just simply because, you know, you had to learn how to store your own apples if you wanted to have fresh fruit later, you know, early the following season, the following year. So Winter King, a great apple to grow, very tasty apple as well, and it sweetens over time in storage as well. So I'd recommend, if you want a long keeper, Winter King may be the one for you. So here we go, Pear Onward. Once again, you can see it's all fully dormant now. Didn't get any fruit off of this year because it was establishing, but that's fine. And hopefully this is an espalier, nicely tied up. I tied this up, I believe it was late last year. And this, even, believe it or not, I mean, even at this time of year now, with the sun here, this is warm. Fence is in the sun here, south facing, so I'm hoping for some good crops off of this next year. Here, Gala apple, dormant. We don't need to go too much into that. And this was a Lord Lambourn I grafted myself, and a Winter King that I grafted myself onto the side. I used mainly cleft grafts when I grafted them. This one here was a russet that I grafted onto here, look, myself. You see that down there? Very good. I mean, I certainly would recommend the Stephen Hayes Fruitwise YouTube channel if you can look at it, because I got a lot of my inspiration from this channel, from the Stephen Hayes Fruitwise channel. So I would recommend you check that one out. And he also sent me the scions for grafting, which is a very kind thing, you know, that he does. And I would, you know, I'd recommend you listen to his videos, because he's incredibly knowledgeable on the subject, as well as being quite entertaining to listen to sometimes. Okay, so here we have the quince tree. I believe this is variety Meeches Prolific. Got to gather up all these leaves, but these will be going on the compost heap. Well, not fully dormant at all. What am I talking about? So you can see, going into dormancy, these tend to hold their leaves until a little bit later than other sort of deciduous fruit trees, but that can be nice because it's still leaving with a colour look. Still got, from these green shoots, we've still got some nice leaves here, so that's nice. So variety Meeches Prolific there. Quince, I do have a video on this where I showcased it. Can be an interesting thing to grow. I won't go into details here, just check out that video if you're interested. Okay, and obviously we all know what these are. These are leeks. These are great things to grow. These are perfectly sort of edible now. Leek and potato soup being one of my favourite dishes. I really very much do enjoy these. I do have a video, I believe I did it last year, on how to grow leeks. If you put it into YouTube, how to grow leeks, you'll probably, you know, you'll certainly see it come up and give you a bit of information there on how to approach this subject. They're not particularly difficult to grow, and they really are a good thing. No problems really. So back here in the polytunnel, it's quite interesting really that although we had very low temperatures last night, it's actually quite warm here in the polytunnel. So with regards to extending the season for certain things, you know, a polytunnel can be a good thing to have. So okay, I hope everybody out there is doing well. Stay tuned. I do appreciate your support for viewing this channel, my subscriber count's going up, my views are going up, so I'm obviously doing something right. Bit of constructive, or not so constructive criticism on some of my other videos, but that's fine as well. Go ahead over, no problem with that. So take care, and looking forward to Christmas here in the UK. All the best.